welcome back to Sunday Night Spookies, the podcast dedicated to exploring the mysterious and the spooky unknown. My name is Sarah.
And I'm Lex.
Reunited and it feels so good. This is Quarantine Mumblings number 2, except not quarantine.
Yeah, quarantine's over.
Yeah, my quarantine ended.
But we promised another quarantine mumbling episode, so here we are.
Yeah, and I had already posted about the Queen Mary, so here we are. Kind of my bad, but also I really am excited to do this episode. So, like I said, we're going to talk about the Queen Mary today, the RMS Queen Mary. And this is something that I chose to do for a quarantine mumblings by myself. But like I said, my quarantine is over. And it's currently 10:30 at night, and we're recording this.
Little last minute action.
Little last minute. The Queen Mary ship is something that I have been interested in the past. I am a huge history nerd. So the haunting of this giant grand ship is like right up my alley. So if you don't know, the RMS Queen Mary is a retired British ocean liner that sailed from 1936 through 1967. She was built by John Brown and Company in Clydebank, Scotland for the Cunard White Star Line. The Queen Mary was built alongside the RMS Queen Elizabeth as a 2-ship weekly express service to compete with the superliners being built by the German, Italian, and French companies during the early 1920s and 30s. She sailed her maiden voyage on May 27th, 1936, and ended up winning the Blue Riband Award that August. She continued to sail as an ocean liner until the outbreak of World War II, when she was then converted into a troop ship that carried Allied soldiers, mainly American soldiers, over to war. And they did this because she was a really large ship that could house a lot of people and a lot of equipment, and the British needed every ship they could get to help with the war effort. After the war, she was once again outfitted for passengers, but by the 1960s, she was aging really fast and operating at a loss. Her last voyage was October 31st, 1967, to Long Beach, California, where she's now permanently moored and runs as a hotel and attraction site.
The Queen Mary has 347 rooms that you can stay in, and that's including suites and first-class staterooms. She also has 6 restaurants and bars, 16 meeting and reception rooms, and 8 dining rooms. But on top of that, there is a business center, a fitness center, a spa and yoga studio, 3 shopping centers, and 5 historical exhibits and heritage rooms, and also a 4D theater. I don't even know what that means. Like, what is 4D?
I don't know. Let's look it up.
So upon researching, and I should have known this. I don't know why I didn't know this.
I didn't either.
But a 4D theater has like the moving seats, or like if there's fog or like rain, then the theater will fill with those things. Or
yeah, it combines a 3D movie experience with physical effects to go along with the movie.
Yeah. I feel like
I've never been to a 4D theater.
No, me either. It's like a D-Box or something. Is that a thing?
No, D-Box is just 3D, I think.
Well, they have a 4D theater, and you can tour the engine room, the isolation ward, the radio room, and they also have a World War II gun mounted on the wall that you can look at. And I know someone died in the engine room, and I think you're going to talk about that in a little bit. Later.
They also have a giant 2-scale Lego version of the Queen Mary that you can go, it's like an exhibit that you can visit. Over 250,000 pieces of Legos.
Holy crap.
That's too much. Our dogs are fighting, sorry. Too many Legos. So as I said before, the Queen Mary was outfitted for war to be a troop ship. She was painted navy gray and thus received the nickname the Gray Ghost for the duration of the war. There was quite a few tragedies, as you can imagine, especially a ship in the middle of war. One of the ones that really stood out to me, I shouldn't be laughing because it's terrible. It's just, you hear it and you're like, how the hell did that happen? So during World War II, the risk of attack from German U-boats was very high. So a giant, very expensive ship like the Queen Mary always had escort ships that would sail alongside her, not to hide her because they weren't as big as the Queen Mary, but to kind of give a buffer between the Queen Mary and any U-boats. So there is an accident that occurred. She was sailing with her escort ships and she actually collided with one of them and sunk the ship, the HMS Curacoa, probably not saying that right, with the stem of the Queen Mary is what sliced through the escort ship. The stem is usually like a decorative thing that like juts out from the very tip of the boat. Could be the bow or the stern. I have no idea. Sorry for any of you who actually know what that is, and I'm just not getting it right. Usually they're seen on wooden ships, so it's kind of weird that like think wooden pirate ship. There's like a big thing, a decorative piece that juts out of the front. So it's kind of weird that she's got one. But so the stem of the Queen Mary is what sliced through the escort ship, resulting in the complete sinking of the ship and the loss of 239 lives.
Jesus.
Now there's a little bit of controversy of what happened immediately following the sinking of the escort ship. We do know for a fact that due to the very high risk of U-boat attacks, the Queen Mary was under very strict orders not to stop for any circumstance. So a lot of a popular belief, I would say, because I've read this on quite a few articles and like places where I try to find my research. It's kind of very well believed that the Queen Mary just kept going. Didn't stop, didn't send for anybody to come help the sinking passengers on the escort ship, just kept going. It said that somebody on the ship later sent a smaller vessel to go search for survivors, attempt to search for survivors. However, that's contradicted by an actual record from the Queen Mary's staff captain, who recorded that the captain of the Queen Mary immediately ordered one of the other ally ships that were escorting her to stop and attempt to gather any survivors. So that part is actually recorded. However, a lot of people believe that she just kept going. And she did keep going because she had to, but the captain of the Queen Mary had somebody else stop right then, which I thought was just like, how do you accidentally slice into each other? You know,
right?
You know what I mean? So that was like one of the big things that really stood out to me. In addition to being this very grand ship, the Queen Mary is also very haunted, which is why I've picked the topic. There are a number of deaths reported on the Queen Mary, and I actually have a few pictures that I'll post on our social media of a plaque that's on the Queen Mary. And there's a plaque of the crew members that have died on ship and a plaque for passengers who have died on ship. And I'm sure you can imagine the amount of tragedy with being through war and being a huge ocean liner. The fact that the Queen Mary is said to be, according to Time magazine, one of the top 10 most haunted locations in America isn't really that hard to believe given her history. So there is a lot of well-known apparitions that people see on the Queen Mary, and a lot of them you go to like look it up and they're like, oh, this is Jackie from the pool and this is the lady in white on the stairs, but a lot of the said apparitions don't have like fact behind them, which they're apparitions, so they're not going to have solid fact behind them. However, there is an apparition called Half Hatch Harry in the engine room by door number 13, or near the engine room. And this one is actually a confirmed death on the Queen Mary. There was a firefighter named John Petter who was 18 years old, and he was playing chicken, supposedly, with the other crewmates around door number 13, which is a watertight door. And he got stuck under the door and was crushed by the watertight door and died on ship. And people have seen supposed John Petter around this door, and he's also known to leave greasy handprints on the door or around the door, or even on people, as I'll talk about later. There's a review that I have of somebody that had an experience with John Petter. And I thought that was very interesting that there was a confirmed death on the Queen Mary of someone who died in this area, and now greasy handprints show up right on this area. It's just really interesting. Another few of the famous hauntings, apparitions, whatever, are surrounded by the first and second class pool areas. Now, a lot of people believe that there was drownings in these pools, the second class pool to be specific. However, on the plaque of passengers that have died, there's no drownings listed. The bottom of the plaque does say that it is not complete, that's just the records that they had after the fact. But the first class pool is where you can see footsteps and hear children laughing, and it's kind of like a thing where people will throw flour on the ground and you can see footprints appear in the flour. And the second class pool is said to be the home of a little girl ghost around the age of 5 or 6 named Jackie, who is said to have died there, who drowned in the pool. Again, that's not confirmed. It's not on the plaque. The plaque is not end all be all, but we don't have a record of her drowning there. Now, in any of these places, usually there's always a most haunted area or most haunted room. Like we stayed at the most haunted room at Hotel Kanya, which Turned out to be a little bit of a bust.
Yeah, most haunted. My ass.
We also stayed at the most haunted room at the National House Inn, which actually lived up to its name. We have an episode about that coming soon, and we want to go back. It was a great experience. The Queen Mary also has her own most haunted room, and that's room B340. And this room has been featured on many shows, such as Ghost Hunters and Most Haunted. I've actually seen the Ghost Hunters episode about the Queen Mary when I was younger. I remember watching it like when I was in high school. And what's really interesting about this most haunted room is that the reports of the hauntings date back to when she was still an ocean liner before 1967. And they're not just reported, they're recorded. Mm-hmm. In the ship's logs, the crew members have recorded that guests would leave the room, request a new room, make multiple complaints about a few things in particular. And most of these reports in the ship's logs have one of these three things in common. Either they complained that somebody was knocking and yelling on the door in the middle of the night, their sheets or blankets were pulled from them in the middle of the night or moving, and a lot of people have reported seeing a very dark apparition in room B340. Now, it's important to note that room B340 originally was 3 third-class rooms that was then transitioned into one big family suite, but even the ship's logs, the rooms that it was, have recorded hauntings in the ship's logs. Another thing that's really interesting about this room that I didn't know, but you did, was when you book this room, you have the option to be given a chest. And that chest contains a Ouija board, tarot cards, and a crystal ball so the guests can do their own investigation, which I thought was just bomb.
Yeah. I saw that on Loie Lane's YouTube channel. She had I want to say it was like a 3-part series of her investigating the Queen Mary.
I'm gonna have to go watch it.
It's a good one.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. I can't remember if Haley Reese was in that one or if she did her own. I think Haley Reese did her own.
She might have.
I watched both though.
But I just thought that was freaking sweet. Like, I would never use a Ouija board, and we talked about that in our Ouija board episodes.
I think it's bad juju to even have it in there if it's known to be haunted.
Well, and tarot cards and crystal balls are, if you're not into,
that's not really even paranormal to me.
It's not. And my problem with it, being somebody who does tarot and has a crystal ball, shout out to Dylan, thank you very much for my crystal ball. I do tarot a lot. I love tarot cards. But that's something that's so personal to the person using the deck.
Tarot cards aren't going to tell you about the entity in the room.
No, and it's, like I said, tarot is so, and this is going to sound so hippy-dippy of me, but tarot cards, you got to have the energy. Like when you get a new tarot set, usually it's recommended by the witchy or pagan community that you either sleep with the tarot cards or put them near your bed at night so the tarot cards can absorb your energy so you can work with them better. Again, I know that sounds so hippy dippy of me. If you didn't know I'm a hippie, sorry, you know now. You do know. But yeah, so just imagine the amount of weirdo energy that are connected with with this chest in general.
So true that though. There's got to be weird energy radiating off of it because not only is there spiritual energy, there's also each individual person that's touched its individual energy.
Well, and crystal balls are a divination tool too. And any divination tool, before you even work with it among the experts of the divination realm, you want to just be near it and pour your energy into it and play with it, and you know what I mean. So it's fascinating that they would choose tarot and a crystal ball to put in the chest along with the Ouija board,
because those are the Ouija board's to talk to spirits, but I think tarot and a crystal ball is more spiritual unto yourself.
Yeah, spiritualism. Yeah, what have you? Third eye and all that shit, right? But again, I just thought it was really interesting that the Queen Mary itself was here, this is the most haunted room. You gotta be pretty well off to book this room though, because it's $500 a night. 500,
ridiculous.
Which is just, I get it. It's a huge suite, right? Most haunted has a huge stigma to it. Whatever. $500 a night is crazy. Okay, so now I have a few reviews that I'm going to read off, and we can talk about them. Both of these reviews are found on TripAdvisor, and there are 1.5 million reviews of the Queen Mary, and I could search through all 1.5 million of them to find more haunted based reviews. However, I'm not going to do that because that's a lot of work and a lot of time. So I found 2 good ones that I think are pretty relatable, believable. They're not like, oh my God, my teacup flew across the room and smashed and then the window blew. Like, like it's not crazy events. These are 2 reviews that I'm like, I could definitely see that happening. And I could definitely see that, like, see myself experiencing that. So the first one was from September 2012, and it reads, quote, "My daughter's cousins and I visited the Grand Queen Mary in Long Beach, California. We decided to purchase the Haunted Passport for $39. This included a 30-minute Ghost and Legends tour and a 1-hour Haunted Encounters tour and access to the ship. The Ghost and Legends tour was fun and a little creepy. It was more like a haunted house attraction, strobe lights, scary music, etc. The Haunted Encounter tour was my favorite. Our tour guide, Danny, was awesome, and he was very patient with our group and had great charisma. He took us all to the hot spots where employees and guests have reported paranormal activity. One location was the old nursery, where people have heard children laughing. Oddly enough, my daughter and I stayed behind to take pictures, and the rest of our tour group proceeded on down the hall. And out of nowhere, we hear children laughing. And we also toured the engine room, and Danny was telling us the history of that area and about a mechanic that used to work down there who passed. Wasn't a mechanic, he was a firefighter. Sometimes guests will leave that area with a smudge of grease on them. At the end of the tour, my daughter Lindsay said, "OMG, Mom, something touched me," and we made a beeline out of the engine room. When we got outside, she had 2 smudges on her lower leg. We instantly were completely and totally freaked out, and we're true believers in the paranormal. So I thought that was pretty believable. Like, that's not so far-fetched that I couldn't see that happening,
Right.
And like, grain of salt, maybe she brushed up against something in an engine room and got grease on her.
Right.
But the fact that it's like, that area is known for that kind of stuff. My second review that I have here talks a little bit about things turning on and off, and one of the most common reports that I read was of the lights on all parts of the ship would flicker on and off constantly. And like, there were so many people that was reporting that the lights were being messed with. So this one is from March of 2013, and it reads, quote, "The Queen Mary is so amazing and I can't wait to return. My girlfriends and I stayed there February 17th, 2013 and stayed in room M001. Let's just say what happened in our room surprised me and my friends. The room was amazing, and we stayed in a King Harbor suite with an extra room for 3rd bed if needed. We all fell asleep around 11:30 p.m., and I, all of a sudden, opened my eyes at 12:56 a.m. to the sight of seeing the main lights on in the room. I was stunned and looked over at one of my girlfriends, and she was sleeping, and the other girlfriend was also snoring in the other room. So it wasn't either of them. I woke up the girlfriend next to me and said, 'Did you turn on the lights?' And she said, 'No.' I said, 'Well, somebody did.' We then walked over to the light switch, which was a push button, and we tried to tap on it and make it come back on, thinking it had a short, but nothing happened. We decided to try and fall back asleep again. But before then, my friend told me that she had to turn the TV off 6 times previously because it kept coming on. After finally falling asleep again, I was awakened by my girlfriend tapping on my shoulder to say the lights are on again, and I freaked out because when I looked at the time, it was now 5:56 a.m. Again, 4 minutes before the top of the hour. How crazy is that?" So that one I thought was something that I definitely could have experienced. Like,
right.
And the fact that it happened at the same time, a few hours later. 12:56, 5:56.
Convenient.
Yeah, and it makes me think that there's like some kind of, I don't know, correlation with, 4 minutes before the top of the hour,
Right. I know I saw in Loe's video, I think they heard knocking and like talking.
A lot of people say they hear conversations or laughing.
It's been so long since I watched it, probably like a year now, but I know she had a really eventful experience. And I think Haley did too. I almost want to say that they left early. Haley did.
Really?
Don't quote me on that, but I have this like vague memory of that.
Obviously, that's not all the information surrounding the Queen Mary. But this is supposed to be like a quarantine mumblings episode. I had planned this one by myself, and these quarantine mumbling videos were never supposed to be super, super long. They were just a very last minute change of plans. Had to get content out. But maybe we'll do an episode about the Queen Mary again someday. Maybe if we visit. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe if we find $3,000 to
fly out from Michigan
and stay at the Queen Mary. Who knows?
But if you guys have any more information or fun facts with the Queen Mary or have ever visited, let us know. I'm super interested in it. Like, this is a location I would love to go visit, especially because it's so historical and I'm a nerd. So.
Right. Same.
We also posted on our social media today that we were thinking about starting a YouTube channel. And when we do these recordings, recording them on video as well to put up on YouTube. Just an idea we have kind of bouncing around at the moment. We've gotten a little bit of feedback on Facebook. So if that's something that you guys would be interested in, please let us know on our social media.
You can reach out to us on any of our social media sites. We are on Instagram at Sunday Night Spookies, on Twitter at Sunday Spookies, and on Facebook at the Sunday Night Spookies podcast.
We also have a few links in our description box. There is a link for Buzzsprout. If you'd like to start your own podcast, we highly recommend Buzzsprout. That's the hosting website that we use for our podcast. It keeps track of all of our stats, all of our monetization. It is an amazing website to host a podcast. We also have a link for Instacart. I love Instacart, as I say in every episode. I flip and hate grocery shopping. I hate crowds. I don't like public. I am a recluse. So I use Instacart almost every single week. If you use our link, it is an affiliate link, as the Buzzsprout link is. You can get free delivery on your first order over $35 if you'd like to use our link. We also have a few links for our EMF detector and our spirit box and the flashlight that we use during every paranormal investigation. They've never let us down. We love those 3 pieces of equipment. So we have those linked down there as well. All of these links are affiliates, which means that we earn a small portion of money if you use them. However, all products and services are available without using our links if you just Google them. We also have a support the show link if you'd like to donate to us. Running a podcast and doing these investigations and the equipment required to do all of this can get pretty pricey, and we are by no means asking for anything, but if it's there, if you'd like it, and every penny of it goes right back into producing more content and better content for our viewers and our listeners.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Sunday Night Spookies.
Join us next week for our episode, finally, about Lex's apartment.
New episodes are released every Sunday evening. Thanks so much for listening, and as always, stay spooky.
What?
A chip just fell on the floor, but how?
What?
I had a chip right here that Artie was licking, and I just set it here, like earlier or whatever.
Yeah.
And it just flew off the table.
No, it didn't.
And it's like over there.
What?
It could have bounced, but like nothing's moved.
Your hands weren't even on the table.
No, I'm looking at my phone. And it just like...
And I can't see the chip because there's a bowl in front of me.
Right here, but...
What?
I mean, I guess the cord could have moved it, but...
The cord's not even touching the table.
This cord maybe.
Oh. But you're not moving your laptop.
I didn't move it all, though.
Oh my god.
That's fine. I think it's a little bit rude to throw food on the floor, ghosties.
Hey Siri. What's 4D?
Here's an answer from wikipedia.org. 40 is the natural number following 39 and preceding 41.
We're leaving that in the bloopers.
Okay.
And the stem is kind of like a decorative thing that juts out of the very tip of the boat. For the blooper reel, Lex just winked at me when I said tip.